out how actually it works, and whatever we are doing in the ABAP part, how it is working in the backend. So what exactly happens is, let me check whether I have explained this or not. Oh, I have explained it. Content is there, security is there. Fine. So here we have something that we are required to understand in case of HANA box. If you all remember, we saw the important thing here was content. Yes, there was a content tab inside this, and this content tab was the one where we were simply so this contains the schema, right? And whenever a ABAP system is installed on top of HANA DB, a schema is always defined in it. That's what we saw. And let's directly start from the same place. I'll open the HANA Studio. I'll open it. So there is our content tab. Sorry, catalog. I've written in a wrong place. It will be catalog. This is my ABAP relevant schema, right? Now, here we can write any sort of, inside the SQL console, we can write any query. If we are selecting our ABAP relevant schema, we can write the logic based on all our ABAP code as well. So if I'm going for Mara, I'll be getting all these details, correct? That's what we are going to see. Now here, a very interesting concept is there called SQL script. SQL script, a very interesting concept comes into picture here. Anyone? Do you have any idea about this? Funny. SQL script.
The SQL script is nothing but
Uh, okay, no problem. See, we are hearing here word SQL script. It is a collection. First thing, it is a collection of extensions of the SQL. So lots of things are there which we can't achieve. So lots of things are there which we can't achieve using normal SQL, like complex operations, looping, if statement, etc. Normal SQL query will never ever allow this. Yes. Normal SQL query will never ever allow it. That's where your SQL script comes into picture. What is the purpose of SQL script? The purpose of SQL script is to give procedural capabilities to SQL. So Procedural capabilities to SQL. Yeah, procedural capabilities to SQL. What it does, it allows the developers to write the data intensive logic deep inside the HANA database. This is the one. It is a, you can understand it is a programming language of the database itself, where you can perform every sort of operations. Procedural capabilities, we will see that, and we will later on will relate it with our ABAP programming, how it is going to help us in ABAP as well. So to write the SQL script code deep inside the HANA database, yes, we need containers to store them. Container to store them in the system. We need container to store them into the system. And first one is temporary or one-time use, or generally it is called as anonymous block, inside which we can store it. So anonymous block. Yeah. Second one that we have is called stored procedure. That is your procedural capabilities. This is an object of database. What an anonymous block says, a block of code without any name is called anonymous block. Yeah, this is used only once. It is not reusable in nature, and it is non-reusable in nature. Yeah, it is disposable, or you can call it. So generally, since it is not reusable, this is mainly only created for testing purpose. Yeah. And the syntax for this anonymous block is, it start with do begin and then with end. In between, you can write your SQL script code. On your SQL console, you can write it on the HANA database. Then we have procedure. So a procedure, a block of code which gets stored in HANA, permanently. This is your procedure. This is reusable in nature. This is reusable in nature, like function module that we see in ABAP, function module methods, etc. So similar to those, our reusable concept in ABAP programming, a database concept is also there called as procedure, and this is reusable in nature. Procedure can be reused, so can be reused with the select queries. Select queries. It has input, output parameters as well. So for input, we use the word in is written, and for output, out is written. Yes. So if you want to see the syntax for this, This is generally written like create procedure, then procedure name, then parameter name, parameter name, type. If it is in, then it will be in. So here, if it is in parameter, here you are going to pass the type. Then if you have a out parameter, so out parameter, parameter name and type. Yeah. Then default schema, whatever schema we are writing, in which it will be stored. Then after that, you can simply write your SQL script code here. Write your SQL script code and then end. That is going to be our procedure. It will generate a procedure which will be stored inside the schema of the HANA DB. So let's start the creation first. Yeah, and one by one, let's understand it. Hello, am I audible? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir, you're audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So we were discussing about our SQL script. SQL script is nothing but similar to a programming language. It is an advanced version of SQL so that you can also perform some complex operation directly on the native database layer, right? And to write this SQL script code on the SQL console, we have two blocks. Anonymous block is there and stored procedure is there. Anonymous block are non-reusable in nature, and unlike anonymous block, stored procedure is a reusable in nature. It will have the input and output parameter and all those part, right? So let's see that. So what I'm going to do, but before creating any one of them, we need to understand how SQL script code is written. We need to understand how a SQL script code is written. Then we are going to perform all this part, right? So some important point of SQL script, important points related to SQL script code. Every SQL script code will always end with the semicolon. Yeah. Second thing, SQL script is not case sensitive. So you can write it either in capital or a small based on your choice. Yeah. When we use a variable in the SQL script code, when we use a variable in the SQL script code, we should always put colon right here, colon. When you are using the variable, so you are going to put colon before that variable. Yeah. This colon is called value of operator as well. If we are assigning any value to this variable, then we should not put colon. So two things you must keep in your mind. If you are using it into some other purpose, there you are going to go for the colon. When you are initializing this variable, then you are not required to pass the colon. Then declare keyword is used to declare variable in the SQL script code. Variable in the SQL script code. Yeah. And you can use the same here. For example, like this way, declare X. If you are declaring it as an integer, you will be declaring like this way. Declare Y integer like this way. Then in SQL script code, everything will work in the SQL format. In the SQL format. What does it means? Every programming language have some output variable, output statement which is used to print the data on the output screen. Java has system.out.println. Yeah. ABAP has write statement. Here everything will work in the SQL format. So if you have written something in the block, you are going to use select variable name from dummy to print the data on the screen. That's how it is created. Select query to perform display over the output. In SQL script, double dash is used to comment a line of code. Double dash is used to comment a line of code. So if you are writing any comment here, this is how you are going to write it. This is a comment in SQL script. So I will start with the anonymous block implementation, and let's write our code deep inside the HANA. Anonymous block implementation. So that's what I'm going to do. That is my SQL console. I will write it here. So do begin, and at last we will have a end. Right. Say I want to perform sum of two numbers. So I'm writing here comment perform sum of two numbers. So the same thing we will do, declare X integer, declare another one, a Y integer. Then let's say I'm declaring a third variable, Z as integer. I will assign these values, say X. Then wait a minute, one more thing. I need to write it here. So for assigning any value, in SQL script, colon equal to is used to store values. Colon equal to is used to store any value. Yes, colon equal to. So if I have to assign any value here, I will have to write X equal to 10. In here, Y equal to, let's say, 20. And Z, I'm making it as my output one. So Z equal to colon X. I'm using them. So colon Y. So if you are using them, then colon should be used. For initialization, colon is not mandatory. So Z will become X plus Y. And then I will display this. So select Z from dummy. Dummy means my current anonymous block. It do not have any name. So now if I go for execution, my statement got executed successfully, and I'm getting here 30 as my output. I am getting here 30 as my output, right? This is a very basic anonymous block, right? This is a SQL script code, a anonymous block implementation that you see here. So a very important note you need to understand, here we cannot write ABAP program. This, yes, we cannot write ABAP program as we are in HANA layer, right? So there is no ABAP application layer to provide the runtime environment for the ABAP programs. That's why we are writing the SQL script. Anonymous block are non-reusable. It will not be reused. Whatever things we are creating here, it is non-reusable in nature. So what I can write, anonymous block are not preferred as eventually we will lose them and they are not saved in HANA DB. So that's where your procedure concept comes into picture. Whatever SQL script that you have done the declaration here, declare keyword is used. Lots of types is supported by this SQL script code here. So let me just write it one more point. Lots of type is supported by SQL script. Again, we don't need to learn much. I'm just explaining this much so that we can relate it when I go back to ABAP and try to explain why we are learning this. Numeric type is there for numeric data. There you are going to store tiny integer, small integer, big integer, double is there, decimal is there, similar to any programming language. Character is also there here for character values. So if you want, we can have here, say varchar. Numeric varchar is also there. Alphanumeric is also there. Yeah. So we have here date and time concept as well, like timestamp, date, variable types. This we can also utilize it. Procedure is a very interesting thing. If you want to create a procedure, let's see, creating procedure for the same procedure for sum of two numbers, start with the same stuff. If I go here and I'm just opening a new console here. So I will follow the syntax, create procedure, sum of two numbers. So let's say sum Amrit, two number. I will have an input parameter here in X integer. Then I will have another input parameter in Y integer. And then I will have a output parameter Z integer. This is the one. So X, Y, and Z, it is going to be there. I'll go for as begin and then end. Now in between you can write the SQL script code. This is my commented line. Yes. Here I can have my Z. So Z equal to, we can just go for it, X plus Y. Yes, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. So I will execute it, right click and execute. Create procedure got here executed. So this procedure will be created. If I want, I can check this procedure. I will copy this name, open another console here. So I will show you, call this procedure name. If it is saved inside the database, inside the schema, then only then we will be able to call it. Total, how many parameters are there? 1, 2, and 3 parameter. So 3 question mark is needed. 1, 2, and 3. I will execute. See, it is asking the 2 input parameter that we have. So I'm giving here 70 and 30 and execute and see. 100 we are getting it. This procedure has been created inside the HANA BDB. If you open this schema, go for the procedure section, or if you want, you can simply right click and refresh here filter. So before that, I will refresh this procedure. Then I will apply the filter to check. So right click, filter, and I will check it. See here, sum memory 2 number. I will double click on it. That is the procedure which is created. That is the procedure which is created. So easy we can create any procedure here. They are usable in nature, and anything we can write here. If I want to change something, say I want to change something, by mistake I've written a wrong value here. Suppose I want to give here, let's say 40 or 50, some x plus y plus 50. Now if I will try to execute, the system will give me an error. What it is saying, cannot use duplicate name of function or procedure. Some only 2 number you have already created, and again you are trying to go for create command. It will not work. If you are making any changes, instead of create, always go for alter. Alter is what is used. So here I will go for alter procedure. 50 I'm adding, I'll execute. Again it is saying there is some problem. What's the issue here? SQL syntax error. Incorrect syntax as plus. Second. Alter procedure. Sum of 2 number. Why it is going the problem? Save it. Z is should be equal to my x, my plus y, and plus, let's say, 10 or 8. Yeah, now it looks good. There you see, statement got executed. Whatever value we are going to add here, now 8 will also be added. So if I again go and recall this procedure here, I'm going for the SQL. I'll recall it to check. So 10 and 20, I should get 38 in the output. So I'll click on this execute, and I'm getting 38 in the output. That's how we are going for changing any procedure. Alter keyword. That's how
Hello.
we are going. Yeah.
Uh, the procedure which we have created first, that can be used in any other project, and the same similar to that,
Yes.
the
Yes.
altered procedure can also be used.
Alter procedure, you are going for changing the same procedure, na? Array, you
Okay.
don't get me. See, this is my procedure. Okay.
Mm.
right? This is a keyword. Okay, when I
Okay.
tried for create, it created this procedure. But again, if I try to execute the same create, it will become duplicate now. That's why it gave the error. So I went for alter command. Then this procedure got changed. The procedure is same. It is not two different procedures.
Okay. So the same procedure can be used in other projects too.
Yes, as well. That's why I'm saying na, it is reusable in nature. That's why we are learning. And that's
Okay.
where we will a new concept AMDP will came into picture. I will come to that. But first let
Okay.
me go for change procedure. Procedure. Here you can go for any sort of operation. You can perform anything. Let me just show. Let's say I want to uh, let me just create another procedure. Say I want to calculate the even and odd. Create procedure even odd number. So input I am taking x as integer, and say output I want sending result as varchar type of length 20 or 10, and I'm having here as begin and then end. So we can go for here modulus checking. What we do, we divide by 2, we check the remainder. If the remainder is equal to 0, then it is an even number. So in the SQL script, by default, modulus function is there, which we can implement here, x comma 2. So we are dividing the x, the input that we are taking, by 2. If it is equal to 0, then it should return the result equal to even. Yeah. Otherwise, we can go for else block as well. Result equal to odd. This will go for end if and then end. A new procedure I'm creating, even odd number. Let's check it. This got executed. This is also there. Now, if we check, we can just see this here in the procedure. You can refresh and you can search for it. I'll apply the filter. Even odd number. There is a procedure which got created inside it is there stored inside the HANA DB permanently in the relevant schema that I'm using. So if I will call it, say I want to call this, I'll go for the SQL console and call this procedure. Two input parameters are there, so two question mark will be used, and you can check. So I'll go for this parameter 1, and let's say 15. I'll call it 15 is odd, and if I'm going for 20, it should give me even. There we are using even. Procedures are very interesting. You can go for any sort of your looping operation, creation, insertion, deletion. Lots of things are there. This is a pure part of native HANA development. But the question here is, there is the question, how this thing is beneficial, or how this concept a ABAPer should use. That is the question here. How this concept a ABAPer should use. So this is pure native HANA development. Say I have the access of HANA DB, but everyone will not have the access of it. So how we are supposed to utilize this procedural capability capability of HANA DB from ABAP layer. Because this is HANA tools, we have here the access of HANA tool. I'm able to show, but what if we do not have? Then how we are supposed to do this, right? That's where our one of the most powerful concept comes into picture, which is AMDP. Okay, who is going to explain this? What is AMDP? Database procedures. Please read this statement. ABAP Managed Database Procedures. Yes. AMDP is nothing but AMDP is a method of a class, and inside, or better I should say, it is a static method of a class, and inside this method we will have the capability to write the SQL script code inside it. AMDP is a static method of a class, and inside this method we will have the capability to write the SQL script code inside it. What it is going to do when we are calling, when we are going to call the AMDP method for the very first time, what it is going to do, it will generate a procedure inside HANA in the ABAP relevant schema. It will generate in the ABAP relevant schema. Here, this is ABAP 02, which have the access of this DB. SAP HANA DB is the ABAP relevant schema I showed you in earlier classes. Here also we have this procedure concept. So there it is going to generate. Yeah. It is completely based on top-down approach. Based on the top-down approach. That is, I can say, code to data paradigm. Yes. This AMDP was introduced after the 7.4 version onward. Yeah. So using this AMDP, there is no need to have the HANA server access. Yes, if you don't have the access of HANA server or HANA tools, all the changes we can do from ABAP application server on Eclipse using ADT. Everything we can do using ADT. Yeah. Right. Very important interview question here. AMDP can only and only be created if your database is HANA DB. If you are not working on HANA DB, you cannot create it. This AMDP is specifically for the HANA database. Yeah. AMDP can be created and maintained, managed from the ADT on Eclipse. We can't create it from GUI, from SAP GUI. We can only see it from GUI. Neither you can create it nor you can change it. You can just open it in display mode. The simple idea that we have here in case of this AMDP so that we can utilize the database procedure. This is the basic idea. The basic idea here of AMDP is to manage the SAP HANA procedures and their life cycle from the ABAP server. So to implement this idea, to implement this, to implement it, what they have done, they have integrated the SQL script code into the ABAP stack. That's how you can implement it. But you need to understand only on ADT on Eclipse, not from SAP GUI. So before directly creating, you can check the version of the system, whether you are working greater than equal to 7.4 version or not. And I just go there and test it. So I'll go for system and status. And here I can open the magnifying glass and I can check my basis version here. It is 7.58. So I am able to create here AMDP. I have the capability, I can create it. Yes. Yeah. So we will see how we are going to create AMDP. But before that, let's create a simple class on SAP here on Eclipse. Let's create a simple class. I will go for right click, new ABAP class, simple AMDP class. My AMDP class. Next, request. I will clear here the console. So this is my a normal class here. Sorry, this is not AMDP. I don't want AMDP. I need a normal class here. Say normal or simple ABAP class. Here I'm writing ABAP class. Next, I'm going for request. Generally, what happens whenever we execute a class from AC24 based on the ABAP application layer, it gets executed, right? Okay, how many of you have a basic idea of Java programming? Anyone? Do anyone have any basic idea of Java programming?
Yes, sir.
Yes, all right. So tell me, which method is going to execute the entire Java code, which is the entry point of Java program? Main method is the one, correct? Right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Main method is the entry point, right? So the same thing, what actually happens in Java program or in Java, everything gets implemented via classes. Everything is a class, and there is a default static method called main method. Yeah, which is the default entry point. So which is the entry point. ABAP is also inspired from it. So the new version of this ABAP on HANA, the new version of ABAP is also inspired from it. And you can also execute your classes into the console of Eclipse. Because of the main method. What they have done, they have integrated or given one interface, which is this if ADT class run, which gives you the capability to execute our classes directly on the Eclipse console instead of a ABAP application directly on the Eclipse console. If you check it here, if you go for Control-Shift-A and I'll search for this interface, there is my interface. If ADT class run, I'll open it. You see here, there is a by default main method. So if I'm adding this automatically here in the public section, if I try to add this interface, so interfaces, if ADT class run, it will become the mandatory to implement the main method, add implementation for main, and this will become the entry point. So say I am creating here, what should I say? Say I'm creating one normal method here, display. Here I'll create one method, class methods, display employee. Or let's start with sum of two numbers, sum of two number having an importing parameter, importing pnum1 type integer, pnum2 here. So let's say pnum2 type integer, and then having exporting parameter. So output type integer. I will add the implementation of this code as well. And for this sum of two numbers, what I'm going to do, output number equal to my pnum1 plus pnum2. Correct? Now what will happen if I execute this ABAP code? This main method will be called at first. So inside this main method, I can directly call this sum of two numbers if I want. Z simple ABAP class, and it's sum of two numbers. It has a num here, my 50, let's say 30. And I will import this output data LV output. And by default, inside this main method, they have given one output. And this out has a by default write method, which we can implement to get the output. So anything if you want, you can pass it here, the sum of two numbers. Say my LV output. Whatever value we are going to receive, the sum of 2 will be 50 plus 30, 80. That's what we are going to get from this method. It will be stored and that it will be printed. You can check it, activate it. And here I can go for run as. ABAP application console is also there. Go for console and check the output here. So this is a new thing that they have added, which you can also utilize. You can use it for your learning. Also in the cloud systems, there is no SAP GUI. So by default, this is the only way which you are going to use. AMDP is something we'll see tomorrow. I just wanted to give an overview today. But this is a new thing. We can also utilize a main method here. Any method possible. If you want, you can write it here. Say I'm creating one more method here to display my, say, class method display VBAK. And I'll make it exporting LT table type table type. Table type I can declare here, or I can declare it from SE11 as well. Say I'm declaring it directly here, begin of TYVBAK and my Veblen VA, date, time, username, and I will declare this table type here. So types with table type table of this TYVBAK. A local table type I have created. This table type I'm using here, display VBAK. They're asking implementation is missing, so we will implement. And all these columns select Veblen, ERDAT, ERZET, ERNUM from VBAK into table @ LT output, LT table, say up to 10 rows. That's what I'm doing. I'll activate the code. And the same thing I will call it here. So Z simple ABAP class and display VBAK method. I will get here my output, LT output. And instead of this text, I will display this table this time. So now if I activate the code, you can check here, run as ABAP application console, and you see here the 10 output. I'll clear this console and recall the program, run as ABAP application console. See, that's also you can try a main method of if